Stepping back is not just an act of physical retreat, but a powerful mental and emotional strategy. It is a deliberate choice to remove oneself from the noise, chaos, or even the intensity of a situation to gain clarity and perspective. Often, when we are too close to a problem, a relationship, or a challenge, we lose sight of the bigger picture. Our emotions cloud our judgment, and we might find ourselves reacting impulsively rather than responding thoughtfully. But by taking a step back, we create the distance needed to see things as they truly are, not as we perceive them in the heat of the moment. We need both. This act of detachment is not about giving up or showing weakness. It's about choosing peace over chaos. It's about reclaiming control over our emotions and actions. In life, there will always be moments when we feel the urge to fix everything immediately, to speak our mind without pause, or to assert ourselves just to feel heard. However, stepping back allows us to break free from this compulsion. It teaches us patience, a virtue that can transform how we navigate the complexities of relationships and challenges. When we take a step back, we're also giving others the space to take responsibility for their actions. We stop micromanaging, stop over-explaining, and stop trying to force outcomes. This space can be incredibly powerful. It's in this space that people begin to reflect on their behavior, their words, and their own contributions to a situation. Sometimes, the most impactful thing you can do is to stop engaging entirely and allow the natural course of events to unfold. People notice absence, they notice silence. And in that void, they often come to realize what they may have overlooked or taken for granted. Stepping back also allows us to focus inward, which is often the most valuable perspective shift. Instead of constantly directing our energy outward toward fixing, explaining, or chasing, we redirect it inward. This inward focus fosters self-awareness, helping us understand what truly matters to us, what we're willing to tolerate, and where we draw the line. It's in these moments of introspection that we often find the answers we've been searching for. We begin to understand that not every battle is worth fighting, and that some conflicts resolve themselves when we simply choose not to engage. There's also a certain dignity in knowing when to step back. It shows that you respect yourself enough to not beg for attention, validation, or resolution. You're signaling to the world that your peace of mind is not negotiable and that you won't compromise your self-worth just to appease someone else. This kind of quiet confidence is magnetic. When people see that you're not desperately clinging to their approval or chasing after their attention, they begin to respect you more. They start to wonder about your strength, your composure, and your ability to stand firm in your own value. And in that moment of stepping back, you also give yourself permission to breathe, to release the tension that builds when we're too invested in outcomes we can't control, to let go of the weight of expectations, both our own and those placed on us by others. Stepping back is a form of self-care, a way of saying, I trust that what's meant for me will find me. It's a reminder that we don't have to force every situation to fit into the mold we've envisioned. Sometimes the best thing we can do is to simply let go and allow life to unfold in its own time. When we step back, something remarkable happens. We often find that the very people we were trying so hard to reach, the opportunities we were chasing, or the problems we were desperate to solve start coming toward us instead. This isn't magic, it's human nature. People are drawn to confidence, to those who know their worth and don't feel the need to prove it constantly. By stepping back, we shift the dynamic. We create an environment where others have the chance to step up, to meet us halfway, and to show that they value us as much as we value ourselves. So when you find yourself in a situation where everything feels too overwhelming, remember the power of stepping back. It's not an act of surrender, it's an act of strength. It's a declaration that you refuse to lose yourself in the chaos, that you value your peace more than the temporary satisfaction of winning an argument or proving a point. And in stepping back, you just might find that the things you were chasing start chasing you instead. Silence is often misunderstood as passivity or weakness, but in truth, it holds a profound strength that few recognize. In a world where everyone seems eager to fill the air with words, staying silent can be a powerful choice. It's an act of restraint, a demonstration of self-restraint, and a way of standing firm without needing to explain or justify yourself. Silence is not the absence of response. It's a calculated decision to let actions, presence, and energy speak louder than words ever could. When you choose silence, you shift the focus from reaction to reflection. Often we feel compelled to respond immediately, to defend ourselves or to make our point heard. But in those moments of urgency, our words can betray us, fueled by emotion rather than reason. Silence, on the other hand, gives us the time to process, to think, and to approach situations with clarity. It allows us to rise above impulsiveness and maintain control over our narrative. It's not about suppressing your voice, it's about knowing when and how to use it effectively. Silence also creates space for others to reveal themselves. When you refrain from speaking, you can observe and truly listen. You notice the words people choose, the tone they use, and the emotions they convey. You see their intentions more clearly because you are not distracted by your need to respond. Silence disarms people. It makes them aware of their own words and actions in a way that constant chatter cannot. In that quiet, truths emerge. And often, those truths are more telling than anything you could have coaxed out with words. There's a quiet confidence in staying silent. It signals that you are secure in yourself, that you don't need to fill the void with explanations or defenses. It shows that you are comfortable with the pause, that you don't fear the discomfort of unspoken words. This kind of poise is magnetic. People are drawn to those who can hold their ground without the need for constant affirmation. Moore's the 12th. Silence is not just the absence of sound, it's the presence of strength. A calm assurance that speaks volumes without uttering a single word. Staying silent also allows others the opportunity to step into the space you've created. In arguments or misunderstandings, for example, silence can be a way of diffusing tension. It prevents escalation and gives the other person room to reflect. It's in these quiet moments that people often realize the impact of their own words or actions. Silence can be a mirror, reflecting back to others their behavior and encouraging them to take responsibility for it. It's not about winning or losing. It's about fostering understanding and growth. But silence is not just about interpersonal dynamics, it's also a deeply personal practice. In silence, you find stillness, and in stillness, you find yourself. It's in the quiet moments that you hear your own thoughts, feel your emotions, and connect with your inner wisdom. Silence is where you find clarity and peace, where you can step away from the noise of the world and tune into what truly matters. It's a gift you give yourself, a sanctuary you can return to whenever life feels overwhelming. In choosing silence, you also teach others to respect it. You show that not every thought needs to be spoken, not every emotion needs to be expressed immediately, and not every situation requires a response. You set a standard for communication that values quality over quantity, meaning over noise. And in doing so, you elevate the conversations and connections you have with others. So the next time you feel the urge to fill the silence, pause and consider its power. Silence is not empty. It's full of possibility. It's a space where transformation begins, where understanding deepens, and where strength is quietly but unmistakably displayed. Use it wisely and you'll find that it speaks louder than any words ever could. Absence has a way of amplifying presence. When you remove yourself from a situation, whether it's a relationship, a group, or a dynamic that feels imbalanced, you create a powerful void that others cannot ignore. It's human nature to take things for granted when they are readily available, to overlook the constant and familiar. But the moment something is gone, its value becomes sharply apparent. This is the magnetic effect of absence, a phenomenon rooted in the psychology of scarcity and the human tendency to long for what is no longer within reach. And when you step away, you change the rhythm of the interaction. You disrupt the expectation that you will always be there, always available, and always ready to engage. This shift forces others to confront your absence and the gap it creates. They begin to notice the contributions you made, the energy you brought, and the role you played in their lives. Often, these realizations are not immediate, but in time, the void you leave behind becomes undeniable. This is not about manipulation or creating drama. It's about reclaiming your energy and prioritizing your well-being. Sometimes we find ourselves giving too much in relationships, whether they are personal or professional. We invest so deeply, often without reciprocation, that we begin to lose sight of our own needs and boundaries. Stepping away is a way of resetting that balance. It's a declaration that your worth is not dependent on constant engagement, that you deserve the same effort and consideration that you give to others. There is a subtle yet profound power in allowing people to come to their own realizations. When you stop chasing, stop over-explaining, and stop overextending, you give others the space to reflect. This reflection often leads to a newfound appreciation of what you brought to the table. People begin to understand the weight of your absence. And with that understanding comes a desire to reconnect, to reach out, and to reestablish the bond they once took for granted. But the magnetic effect of absence goes beyond relationships. It applies to opportunities, goals, and even self-perception. When you step back from chasing something relentlessly, you allow the natural flow of life to take over. This doesn't mean abandoning your aspirations. It means trusting the process and releasing the need to control every outcome. Ironically, the moment you stop clinging, things often begin to align. Selectively and essentially moving away from the clutter of your work and the connection with the noise. Opportunities present themselves, people gravitate toward you, and the path forward becomes clearer. This dynamic stems from the energy shift that occurs when you step away. When you stop pouring all your energy outward, you redirect it inward. You become more grounded, more focused, and more in tune with yourself. This self-assured energy is incredibly attractive. It draws people and opportunities toward you, not because you are chasing them, but because you exude a quiet confidence that commands attention. Lastly, not being afraid of success is the forte. It's also important to note that stepping away doesn't mean cutting ties or burning bridges. It's about creating healthy boundaries and allowing others the chance to meet you halfway. When they do, it's a sign that they value the connection and are willing to invest in it. If they don't, it's a clear indication that your energy is better spent elsewhere. Either way, you win because you've honored your worth and prioritized your peace. Absence has a way of clarifying what truly matters. It separates the superficial from the significant and reveals the people and things that genuinely value you. When you step back, you give yourself the opportunity to observe, to recalibrate, and to attract what aligns with your highest self. It's a process of letting go, trusting, and ultimately finding that what is meant for you will come to you, not because you chased it, but because you created the space for it to arrive. So when you feel the pull to overinvest, to overexplain, or to overstay, remember the quiet power of stepping away. Let your absence speak for you and watch how the world responds to the space you leave behind. Often it's in that space that the most meaningful connections and opportunities come running toward you. Actions have a way of cutting through the noise that words often create. In a world overflowing with promises, explanations, and justifications, what you do consistently holds far more weight than what you say. People may listen to your words, but they watch your actions, and it's those actions that leave a lasting impression. When you let your actions speak louder, you shift the focus from talking about what you'll do to showing what you stand for. It's a quiet yet powerful approach to building credibility, earning respect, and fostering meaningful connections. When you stop trying to explain yourself and instead let your behavior show your intentions, you communicate with clarity and authenticity. Words can be misinterpreted, ignored, or dismissed, but actions have a tangible presence. They demonstrate effort, commitment, and consistency. Whether it's in your personal relationships, your career, or your daily interactions, the choices you make and the way you follow through on them carry more weight than any verbal declaration ever could. This is particularly important in relationships. It's easy to tell someone you care about them or promise to make changes, but those words lose meaning if they aren't backed by action. Showing up, being present, and consistently demonstrating care and effort are what truly matter. Actions build trust, and trust is the foundation of any meaningful connection. When you focus on what you do rather than what you say, you create a sense of reliability and dependability that words alone can't achieve. The same principle applies in professional settings. You can talk about your skills, your ambitions, or your plans, but what truly sets you apart is your ability to deliver. Completing tasks, meeting deadlines, and exceeding expectations speak volumes about your dedication and capability. People are drawn to those who don't just talk about making a difference, but actually take steps to make it happen. Your actions become a reflection of your character, work ethic, and values, leaving an impression that far outlasts any speech or presentation. Letting your actions speak louder also means being intentional about what you do. Every action, no matter how small, contributes to the narrative you're creating about who you are. This doesn't mean you need to overthink every move, but it does mean recognizing that consistent effort over time shapes how others perceive you. It's in the small, everyday actions that we truly understand who you truly are, the key aspects we need to take action, the ones that most people can't touch. Speaking kind, keeping promises, showing gratitude, that your true character is revealed. These are the things people remember, even if they don't mention them outright. At the same time, leading by example can inspire others. When you quietly and consistently embody the qualities you value, integrity, perseverance, kindness, you encourage those around you to do the same. Your actions set the tone for how you want to be treated and how you expect others to behave. This kind of leadership doesn't rely on authority or speeches. It relies on being the change you want to see. People are far more likely to follow someone who lives their values than someone who merely talks about them. Another benefit of letting your actions speak is that it reduces unnecessary conflict. When you stop over-explaining or trying to convince others with words, you avoid the misunderstandings and defensiveness that often arise in heated conversations. Instead, you let the results speak for themselves. Actions are harder to argue with. They provide a clear, undeniable representation of your intent and effort. In this way, they can be a more peaceful and effective way of navigating challenges or disagreements. Choosing action over excessive explanation doesn't mean remaining silent or passive. It means understanding that your energy is better spent on doing rather than convincing. It's about showing your worth, your dedication, and your love in ways that words can't fully capture. It's about being consistent and authentic, trusting that what you do will resonate more deeply than anything you can say. Now, so the next time you feel the urge to explain yourself, pause and ask if your actions can speak for you instead. Words can fade, but actions leave a mark that lingers in the hearts and minds of those who witness them. Lead with what you do and watch how the world responds. Valuing yourself is one of the most profound and transformative acts you can undertake. In a world that constantly demands more effort, more attention, more compromise, it can be easy to lose sight of your own worth. But when you begin to truly understand your value, everything changes. You start to realize that your energy, time, and presence are not limitless resources to be taken for granted or given away carelessly. Instead, they are treasures to be shared with care and intention, and only with those who genuinely appreciate them. Cultivating self-worth begins with setting boundaries. Boundaries are not walls that isolate you, they are lines that protect you. They define what is acceptable and unacceptable in your interactions with others. Setting boundaries can feel uncomfortable at first, especially if you're used to putting others' needs ahead of your own. But boundaries are an act of self-respect. They signal to the world and to yourself that you recognize your value and will not allow it to be diminished. They ensure that your relationships are built on mutual respect and not one-sided sacrifice. When you value yourself, you also learn to stop seeking validation from others. This is not to say that external affirmation is meaningless. Compliments and recognition are naturally uplifting. But when your sense of worth depends solely on how others see you, it becomes fragile and easily shaken. True self-worth is rooted internally. It's knowing deep down that you are enough, regardless of external opinions. It's finding confidence in your abilities, your uniqueness, and the contributions you bring to the world. This kind of self-assurance is unshakable because it isn't dependent on anyone else's approval. Valuing yourself also means prioritizing your own needs and well-being. It's recognizing that self-care is not selfish. It's essential. You cannot pour from an empty cup, and if you constantly give without replenishing, you risk burnout and resentment. Taking time for yourself, whether it's through rest, reflection, or pursuing what brings you joy, is a way of honoring your worth. It's a reminder that your happiness matters just as much as anyone else's. When you begin to treat yourself with the respect and care you deserve, you set a powerful example for how others should treat you. People take cues from the way you carry yourself and the standards you set. If you consistently prioritize yourself and maintain healthy boundaries, you communicate to others that you are not to be undervalued or mistreated. This doesn't mean demanding perfection from others, but it does mean refusing to tolerate behavior that undermines your dignity or well-being. Valuing yourself doesn't mean you stop giving to others. On the contrary, it often allows you to give more freely and authentically. When you operate from a place of self-worth, your generosity is not driven by obligation or the need to prove yourself. Instead, it comes from a genuine desire to share your abundance with those who appreciate it. This kind of giving is not depleting, it's fulfilling because it's rooted in choice, not compulsion. Another critical aspect of self-worth is recognizing your power to walk away from what doesn't serve you. This could mean stepping back from toxic relationships, unfulfilling jobs, or situations where you are not valued. Walking away is not an admission of failure, it's an affirmation of your standards. It's saying, I deserve better and I trust that better is out there. It's a bold move that requires courage, but it's also one of the most liberating things you can do. When you truly value yourself, you transform the way you interact with the world. You attract people and opportunities that align with your worth because you no longer settle for less. Your confidence becomes a beacon, drawing in those who recognize and celebrate your unique qualities. You inspire others to see their own value, creating a ripple effect of empowerment and respect. Ultimately, valuing yourself is not about arrogance or selfishness. It's about balance. It's about knowing your worth and ensuring that it is reflected in the way you live, love, and engage with the world. When you embrace your value, you open the door to a life that is richer, more fulfilling, and deeply aligned with who you are. In doing so, you not only honor yourself, but also encourage others to do the same. ChatGPT. When people come running toward you, it's not just a reaction to your actions or presence. It's a testament to the energy and value you bring into their lives. This response is often not immediate, but cultivated over time through your choices, the way you conduct yourself, and the space you create for them to recognize your worth. It's a natural consequence of living authentically, setting boundaries, and respecting yourself enough to step back, stay silent, and focus on what truly matters. People are drawn to strength, and strength isn't always loud or overt. True strength lies in quiet confidence, in the ability to hold your ground without being defensive, and in the calm assurance that you don't need to chase after what you deserve. When you embody this kind of composure, you create an undeniable magnetism. People begin to notice the way you carry yourself, the grace with which you navigate challenges, and the dignity in your silence. This observation often stirs something within you, a desire to connect, to understand, and to be a part of the energy you produce. This magnetism is rooted in authenticity. You stop trying to please everyone, conform to expectations, or prove yourself, and you allow your true self to shine. People are naturally attracted to authenticity because it's rare and refreshing in a world where so many wear masks or put on facades. Being authentic doesn't mean being perfect. It means being real, honest, and unapologetically yourself. It's in this authenticity that people find connection and trust. They see in you something they admire, something that resonates deeply with their own desire to be seen and valued for who they truly are. But the pull you create isn't just about who you are, it's also about the space you allow others to step into. When you step back and stop trying to control outcomes, you give people the freedom to come to you on their terms. This is a powerful dynamic because it shifts the focus from chasing to attracting. It shows that you value yourself enough not to force connections, and that you trust others to recognize your worth without needing constant reminders. In doing so, you create relationships that are genuine and rooted in mutual respect rather than dependency or obligation. When people come running, it's often because they've had the time and space to reflect on what you mean to them. Absence sharpens their awareness of your presence, and silence allows them to hear their own thoughts about you more clearly. It's in this quiet reflection that they begin to understand your significance. They remember the ways you've supported them, the value you've brought to their lives, and the integrity with which you've carried yourself. This recognition compels them to bridge the gap, to reach out, and to reestablish the connection. This dynamic isn't limited to personal relationships. It applies to professional and social spheres as well. Opportunities often come running toward those who don't desperately chase them, but instead prepare themselves to receive them. When you focus on growth, excellence, and authenticity, you naturally position yourself as someone worth noticing. People and opportunities are drawn to that energy, not because you demanded it, but because you embodied it. There's a certain beauty in this process, in watching how life unfolds when you stop forcing and start trusting. When people come running, it's not just about them acknowledging your value. It's about them recognizing the balance and strength in your approach. It's a moment that affirms your choices, your patience, and your commitment to living with intention. And as they move towards you, it creates the opportunity for deeper, more meaningful connections that are rooted in mutual respect and appreciation. So when the time comes and you see people returning or opportunities arising, understand that it's not a fluke or coincidence. It's the natural result of valuing yourself, staying true to your principles, and trusting that what's meant for you will find its way. By stepping back, staying silent, and allowing others to come forward, you create a dynamic that fosters authenticity and respect. And in doing so, you open the door to a life filled with connections and opportunities that truly align with your worth.